morning coffee, a bowl of oatmeal concoction, and a Google Doc with the good Dr. Luke. A follow-up with the good doctor on yesterday's reflection on marriage preparation, otherwise known as pre-marriage counseling, the service of worship for Christian marriage, and the resulting result of the vocation of marriage. This week's theme, found in a guide to prayer for ministers and other servants, the theme for the fifth Sunday after Epiphany, the cost of ministry. You're invited to keep all this in mind as we ponder Dr. Luke's perspective on an encounter with Jesus. Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat, I am. Don't run from suffering, embrace it. Follow me and I'll show you how. Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, my way, to finding yourself, your true self. What good would it do to get everything you want and lose you, the real you? If any of you is embarrassed with me and the way I'm leading you, know that the Son of Man will be far more embarrassed with you when he arrives in all his splendor in company with the Father and the holy angels. This isn't, you realize, pie in the sky by and by. Some who have taken their stand right here are going to see it happen. See with his own eyes the kingdom of God. This is from Luke 9:23-27 as found in the Message. And about 8 days after saying this, he, Jesus, climbed the mountain to pray, taking Peter, John, and James along. And while he was in prayer, the appearance of his face changed, and his clothes became blinding white. At once 2 men were there talking with him. They turned out to be Moses and Elijah, and what a glorious appearance they made. They talked over his exodus, the one Jesus was about to complete in Jerusalem. Meanwhile, Peter and those with him were slumped over in sleep. When they came to, rubbing their eyes, they saw Jesus in his glory and the 2 men standing with him. When Moses and Elijah had left, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, this is a great moment. Let's build 3 memorials, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He blurted this out without thinking. This is Luke 9:28-31, the Message. As they were going along a road, a man said to him, "I'll follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said to him, the man, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." To another one he said, "Follow me." But he, the other one, said, "Lord, let me first go and bury my father." But he, Jesus, said to him, "Leave the dead to bury their own dead, but as for you, go and proclaim the kingdom of God." Another one said, "I'll follow you, Lord, but let me say farewell to those at my home." Jesus said to him, "No one puts his hand to the plow and looks back. Who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of heaven." This is from Luke 9:57-62 as found in the Revised Standard Version. So upon reflection of participating in the mast of Christian marriage, we have a challenge from marriage is ministry. All life of those who claim the name Christian is ministry. Luke and Jesus have covered a lot of ground this morning, given us much to ponder about jumping into marriage, getting hitched, whatever a couple wants to call it. Much to ponder about our baptism, our making a personal decision for Christ in our lives, a decision for Christ in our marriages. They've given us much to ponder about why couples want to go through any semblance at all of a service of marriage, ceremony some call it, maybe to soften the blow, to hide from the fact, to deny the reality that in the sanctuary they, the couple, have taken the risk to invite God. The seriousness of the sanctuary is a sign, as symbols of the real presence of God among humanity, among any and all who dare to gather there under whatever pretense. And as we at Surfside United Methodist Church read through the Bible in a year, we have already discovered that the temple, the place, the structure, the sanctuary of worship was and is God's idea, not something made up by men for pride, power, to show off how much more wealthy they and their church family is over the other. Maybe the liturgy, otherwise known as the words for the ceremony, even the vows chosen or not chosen, are to soften the blow, the seriousness, the awesomeness of what is about to go down. What is going down, whether called a ceremony or high mass, if that family and that couple are asking God to be involved to dare claim they had a quote, unquote Christian marriage, it is not about getting married for emotional, fun-filled, sex-filled, as long as it lasts until it doesn't anymore look like, let alone taste like pie in the sky. The words for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and health should give a clue. If anyone would dare, but it's easier to be photographicated, to photographicate the ceremony, to catalog it away as a wonderful mountaintop transfiguration moment, wanting to savor that, set up a tent, and never descend down to face life, as a disciple, as a discipling human, as a discipling couple, willing to give up selfish desires for our spouse. For if it is to proclaiming Christians, we are reminded in our baptisms, in our claiming the name in confirmation, or inviting Jesus in at an altar call, that we are giving up our right to selfish living, to egocentrism. We are asking God to enter in, to do something in us, to us, and for us, and or for our marriage, but not for our own happiness, but rather to model the love of God. If anyone would dare even think about wanting to follow me, says Jesus, think deep, think hard. The purpose is not about health and wealth. Luke reminds us of that and the people in the crowd who only follow Jesus for a faith healing or for some food. Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat. I am. Don't run from suffering. Embrace it. Follow me. I'll show you how. Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, my way, to finding yourself, your true self. What good would it do to get everything you want and lose you, the real you? If any of you is embarrassed with me and the way I'm leading you, know that the Son of Man will be far more embarrassed with you when he arrives in all his splendor in company with the Father and the holy angels. This isn't, you realize, pie in the sky by and by. Some who have taken their stand right here are going to see it happen, see with their own eyes the kingdom of God. Whether talking about a decision for Christ, and it's so easy, very easy to see here that though the decision is personal, it's in no way private. Whether it's talking about baptism, confirmation, ordination, or marriage, the life we entered into, we're graced by the Spirit, prodded by the Spirit, empowered by the Spirit to enter into, it's so easily and simply self-identified as I'm Christian. We might pause and remember that the people of Way did not come up with that name, that identity, Christian. It was not a term of endearment, but a label given to those who didn't paste a bumper sticker on their camel or backpack which read Jesus or God is my co-pilot, but rather chose to follow Jesus, who was their pilot. They're following Jesus unashamedly, uncompromisingly, in deed, not simply in word, led to live lives of incredible suffering, in many cases blackballed, shunned, tortured, even because living such a life is countercultural. Agape, self-emptying, unconditional, sacrificial love can do that. Suffering, unhappiness, were not seen as a reason to get out of a relationship with Christ. Christ suffering as he watches church split over this and that, infighting and outfighting. And Luke and Jesus cover that with the disciples asking Jesus to give them permission to incinerate those with whom they don't agree. But that's for another day. Jesus, God, has not given up on, quit on, divorced the church or humanity or the world. Pondering the coming of the 50th anniversary of my running into PC, a.k.a. Paula Sue Carciola, a.k.a. Paula Watson, at a high school football game on a Friday night under the lights in September of 1974, from which moment we have been glued together, marrying on March 20th, 1976, well, Paula has been a disciple of Christ, a disciple of modeling the vocation of marriage, not running away from the suffering caused by my selfishness, egocentrism, fickleness, periods and bouts with anger and depression, downright stubbornness. Many would have run away, but she will tell you that love is a choice and marriage is a choice. one day at a time, for better or worse, richer or poor, in sickness and in health. And we have had many amazing, better, richer, healthier moments, hours, days, months, and years together, but also many worse, poorer, and sicker. But nonetheless, until death do we part. A vocation of self-sacrifice. PC has taken it to the limit. Many have said beyond what they would take it. But isn't that what God and Jesus and through Jesus did for the whole world? Went beyond the limit and invites us to do the same. And, if we choose, that is where we will discover abundant, full life, max life, kingdom life, and ultimately, paradoxically, nonsensically, that is where we will find happiness. Following Jesus' lead in life and or in marriage, why would anyone in his or her right mind do such a thing?